I moved into a duplex unit a few years ago since I couldn't afford a house and really disliked apartment living. I wanted some elbow room and a small piece of land to grow flowers and feed the birds without having to seek approval from anyone. I asked my neighbor Angela if she would mind, and she loved the idea and said I could use her side of the yard as well. I do my best to keep the entire property clean and neat, and when I mow the small yard I make sure and do her side as well. In the spring I pick up the winter branches and debris, in the fall I rake the leaves for both of us. She has always made a point to thank me for doing these small things since she works long hours. It is my only way to bring beauty into this world without revealing to everyone that I wished I could be as beautiful. I had drawn up plans for the layout of the flower beds and even had photo samples of the flowers I planned on using. I wanted something that would work well in all seasons and provide color and fragrance throughout the year. One weekend while I was marking out the yard with the locations for the flower beds, my neighbor came out to see how things were going. I should take this moment to describe my Angela. To say she is beautiful would be an understatement. She epitomizes the classical female that we all cherish. Many nights I would dream of her and would envision being just like her. Angela has a slim figure and full long brown hair to the middle of her back. Her complexion is flawless and her makeup is minimal but perfect. Angela's nails are always manicured and painted very stylish colors. She is an executive for a high-end biotechnology firm and heads up their research and development division. Needless to say, her work outfits are typically very smart dresses and skirt suits. I rarely see her leaving for work in slacks. I always make sure to compliment her outfits whenever I see her, which I try to do often. I have never seen her in shorts or sweatpants even on the weekends. Our mailboxes are out at the street and I often get her mail in mine by mistake. When I drop it off to her, she is always dressed professionally regardless of the time of day. Angela has returned the favor of dropping off my mail on occasion, which did cause some embarrassment once. I had ordered a calendar and catalog from Secrets and Lace and it was delivered to her mailbox by mistake. She knocked on my door to return it. I was dressed rather poorly that day in sweats and a ratty t-shirt. In contrast, she had on a tight gray skirt suit and purple satin blouse. Her black 4-inch heels looked like they just came out of the box. We said our typically greetings and I once again complimented her on her outfit as I apologized for my appearance. She smiled and handed me the misplaced mail. When I saw what it was, I just blushed and suddenly got tongue-tied and tried to apologize again. She just shushed me and said there was nothing to apologize for and was glad to see that someone else shared her appreciation for fine clothing and stylish lingerie. At this point my head was swimming and I wondered if she knew just how far my appreciation went. This wasn't the only thing I had purchased from Secrets and Lace, and I was worried that she would think less of me. As she handed the mail over, our hands touched for the briefest of moments and I could feel her nails touch my skin. I shivered slightly as I thanked her. She smiled again and looked in my eyes for a moment. She asked how the plans for the flower gardens were coming and I said they were finished and I would be laying the areas out this weekend. I realized our hands were still touching and I blushed even more. She once again smiled and said she would see if she had some free time this weekend to see if she could help me move things along. In the back of my mind I wondered if she meant the garden layout or my secret desire to emulate her. I thanked her again and watched her turn to leave. Just as she entered her place, she turned again to me and smiled that soft and beautiful smile. So that bright Saturday spring morning I was laying out the areas where the flowers beds and garden areas would be when I heard her approach. I was stunned to see her shorts and a casual shirt with sneakers. But Angela still looked lovely. I swear she could wear a flower sack and still make heads turn, and I told her as much. Wow, Angela, I don't think I have ever seen you in shorts and a t-shirt, let alone sneakers. You look fantastic as always. Thanks, she said with a bright smile. I figured if I was going to help out I should dress the part, don't you think? I agreed and showed her the plans and the layouts. She really appreciated the selections of plants and flowers I chose. You certainly have an eye for color selections and found ways to complement one plant to another. Thanks, I tried to envision the whole completed project and what would look best together. I wanted softer, smaller plants to fill in and complement the taller, more colorful ones in the back. You know, I wasn't sure how much I would be able to help today, but I see a similarity in how I choose my outfits. I always like to start with a proper foundation and pick my lingerie to set the mood I want for the day. That would be like the softer, colorful plants you have chosen. Then I like to pick the outfit I want, whether it be a dress or skirt suit, to be the focal point I am going for. That would be like the taller feature plants and flowers that you have planned. Of course, I always add accessories like earrings, bracelets, and of course my shoes to finish the look. I never really thought of it that way, and I didn't even consider feature items in the garden. I said, trying to keep the conversation and my mind focused. I suppose a few accent features would help tie it all together. I was wondering about the subtle fashion lesson she had given me and was happy she had just introduced me to an intimate part of her world. You know, Angela, since this will benefit both of us, would you be willing to go with me to pick out the accessories for the garden? I would love to, and maybe we could have lunch at a new place I have been wanting to try. She said I would like that very much. Can we plan on it for tomorrow, or better yet next weekend? I asked. That would be fantastic. It will give me a chance to prepare a few things I need to get ready. She replied. To get ready? I asked. It is just shopping for a few garden accessories. It shouldn't take too long. I know, but we girls need to present our best whenever we go out shopping. Don't you think? I nodded, slightly confused. Besides, I want to make sure I know what we have to work with so we can make your garden as pretty as can be. Now I was really blushing. I knew that she knew of my secret desires. But she did not ridicule me or laugh. She actually sounded like she was excited about it. Or it could have just been my imagination getting the better of me. We worked the rest of the morning and into the afternoon laying out the garden and flower bed areas. I did much of the hard work of turning the soil and cutting the edges while she set the plants and mulched the other areas. She really surprised me with the amount of physical and dirty work she was doing. Every time I saw she was about to get into a dirty project, I offered to take over, but she just waved me away, saying that she was fine. And she really was fine. Throughout the day it seemed like she barely broke a sweat. But I was a dirty, sweaty mess by the time we finished for the day. As I was gathering up the tools, I mentioned it would take several showers to clean me up. I should have worn gloves. I said. My hands are raw and I have so much dirt under my nails. I looked at her hands and they were perfect. How did you manage to stay so clean and you didn't even break a nail? She laughed and said it must be genetic. Actually, my company developed a hand and nail lotion to protect in harsh conditions. It is experimental but perfectly safe. I asked if it was available in stores and that I could definitely use some as I looked at my blistered hands. She had a bit of a serious look on her face as she said, "Not yet, there are still a few issues that the FDA wants us to work out." She paused for a moment and bit her lip. "But I have some inside if you would like to try it." This was the first time I saw her uneasy or unsure of herself. I wanted to reassure her, and my hands were really raw, so I said sure, I would be glad to try anything that could repair this damage. By then I caught a whiff of myself and asked, "Your company doesn't develop bath soap by chance?" I have been looking for a new brand and the one I have been using is drying out my skin. She had the serious and unsure look on her face again. We do, but again it is still in development. I use it all of the time and it is perfectly safe. But there are some issues with it that need to be worked out. Do you have any allergies? She asked. No, I replied. What type of issues? Well, it works a little too well at repairing the daily damage we do to our bodies, and it tends to make the skin softer than most men would like. She replied, I have no issue with that. I always disliked when my skin got rough and dry. Her face brightened beyond what I thought possible, and she said, I will be right back. I put the rest of the tools away and was about to head inside when she came back out with a small bag. She showed me the items. This is a liquid soap you can use with a washcloth or loofah. The harder you scrub, the softer your skin will be. It also will soften your body hair and in rare cases remove it. She looked at me for my reaction, but I only nodded my understanding and said no problem. She pulled out the next item, which was a small bottle of hand cream. This is for your hands and nails if you like. It is a small bottle, but believe me, a little goes a long way. This is a 6-month supply. I was shocked. To me, it looked like a week's supply at best. Lastly, she pulled out a small bottle of shampoo. This is another product we have been working on. It will strengthen your hair and keep your scalp healthy. I use it all of the time. She turned her head to emphasize her long, lovely locks. It even reduces the grays while returning color and shine. I picked the one close to your hair color, so it should not be an issue. Now, I was a bit hesitant. I am not sure about that one. Hands and skin or even body hair removal is one thing, but if my hair turns out to be as pretty as yours, it may raise a few questions. I said with a nervous laugh. She smiled reassuringly and looked at my thinning hair. There is nothing wrong with wanting to have thick, luxurious hair. Besides, it can always be cut and styled any way you like. I thanked her and hoped she was right. I took the packages inside and set them on the kitchen table. I was reflecting on the events from the day and was amazed that in the short time I had learned so much more about Angela. We had lived next door to each other for several years and only spoke in passing. She was a professional, well-dressed woman with class and etiquette, while I was a middle-class, middle-aged male with thinning hair and a rundown wardrobe. In one day I had gotten to know her better, and she may have even hinted at knowing I liked soft feminine things, and she did not have a problem with that. I stopped by my laptop and saw an email from her. Thank you for taking such loving care of the garden. The choices you made are lovely and I know will grow to be beautiful. It is so nice to be able to share beautiful things, don't you think? I hope you enjoy the products I gave you. I know you will be pleased with the results. You may notice that those products will tingle as you use them. Not to worry, they are just getting rid of that man crud all over you. Just kidding. They work deep into your skin to repair the damage and heal from within. If you notice anything seriously wrong, just give me a call. I hope you do not think this is too forward, but I was thinking about ordering the items on page 9 of the Secrets in Lace catalog. Let me know what you think of them. Angela. I stood there staring at the email for a few minutes. I was stunned that she had mentioned the catalog that was delivered to her mailbox by mistake. Stunned even more that she had opened it and looked through it. Floored that she was asking my opinion on an item on page 9. I have always tried to maintain a proper relationship with my neighbor Angela. Sure, I would have loved to gone out with her or more. But I had issues, as we all do, and I knew she was way out of my league. I was about to go upstairs to get a shower when it hit me like a truck. Page 9. What was on page 9? I searched around for the catalog and found it under the other mail from the week. With shaking hands, I opened it to page 9 and saw this. It was one of my favorite models wearing one of my favorite outfits. There were also smaller inset photos of the foundation garments to pull the look together. I returned to my laptop to reply to the email. My pulse was racing, but my mind went blank. I was sort of on autopilot, but I did not want to presume anything. I carefully drafted the following. Angela, it is my pleasure to put the garden together. It is like therapy for me and a good way to bring some beauty into this world. Thank you for helping today. I am glad to have a wonderful neighbor such as you. If I may say, I only hope the garden will be half as beautiful as you. I will keep an eye out for some accessories, for the garden of course, that we can talk about next weekend. See you soon. P.S. The items on page 9 are some of my favorites. I am sure they would complement your beauty wonderfully. I hesitated to reread the message a few times. I did not want to sound too forward, but I also wanted to cultivate this relationship. With some fear, I hit send. I was about to turn around when a reply came back. That was quick, I thought. Excellent, I was afraid I was being too forward in discussing such things with you. I have a feeling you have a fashion sense that you may not be aware of or want others to know about. Angela P.S. What size shall I order for you? After reading this, my heart was really racing. My hands were shaking and I had to sit down. Here was my neighbor that I barely knew asking what size of a feminine outfit she should buy for me. All I could think of was how ridiculous I would look trying to emulate her. My mind was going into shutdown mode and I wanted to reply that it was not necessary and I would look foolish, but something in me stopped. She had a way of putting me at ease, and if she was okay with it, then so was I. I carefully typed out, Angela, to be honest, I do not know. But based on the size chart, I would say size 14. I hit send and waited. There were no further replies, so I went to take a shower. I was really ripe by this time. I set the hand lotion on the counter and the bath soap and shampoo on the edge of the tub. I removed the dirty, smelly clothes I had been wearing and looked at my hairy, middle-aged, out-of-shape body. Throughout my whole life, I hated looking in the mirror. It always was mocking me, and as I got older and hair started sprouting from places I won't even mention, I just got sadder and more withdrawn. But occasionally she would surface. Like after a really close shave or when my hair was wet and slicked back. I would catch a glimpse of the woman I longed to be. It would be fleeting but still a beautiful moment. I ran the shower as hot as I could stand and started washing with the new bath soap. I did not have a loofah, so a washcloth would have to do. As she said, it did tingle on my skin as I washed. The hot water helped open my pores and removed the grime from the day. I did notice a few extra hairs on the washcloth than normal, but nothing like my whole body being suddenly hairless. There was an overall redness to my skin and I worried that I might be having a reaction. But it did not get worse, so I moved on to washing my hair. As I mentioned, my hair had thinned as I aged, but fortunately it still was all there with no signs of balding. I had receded at the temples a little, but that was life. I always kept it short and easy to deal with. As I massaged the shampoo and I could feel my scalp tingle. The pores that had closed so many years ago felt alive. The more I massaged it and the foamier it became. A bit ran down my face and I quickly closed my eyes to avoid burning them. I swear I could feel the same tingle on my eyelashes. Surprisingly, I did not feel the tingle on my eyebrows or my facial hair. I rinsed my hair and found it to be squeaky clean with lots of body. I used the bath soap once again on my face and neck, and then I felt the tingling sensation. It was as if each hair follicle was active. It was actually starting to burn some, so I rinsed quickly. The burning subsided and I felt my face for bumps. To my surprise, it was smoother and tighter than it had been in years. I shut off the water and dried my reddened skin. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary for having taken a really hot shower, but my skin did still tingle somewhat. When the fog on the mirror cleared, I got a bit of a surprise when I saw my hair. It did look fuller and had more body than before, but I noticed a lot less gray. Sure enough, the shampoo had returned my natural hair color for the most part. There were still touches of gray here and there, but much less, and it looked a little lighter. It always did lighten up in the summer, and when I was young, it was very blonde. When I took a look at my face, I could see that it was indeed smoother, but I did need to shave. I towel dried it and noticed the hairs root and all on the towel. It was like the hairs had been pushed out. This occurred on my lip, sideburns, chin, and neck. There were still a few hairs attached, and I shaved those as needed. I now knew what Angela had meant by the products having a few issues that men might not like. It did not bother me in the least, though. The rest of my body seemed fine. There was no additional hair loss that I could tell, although my skin still tingled slightly and had a reddish tint. I assumed it was from the hot water, though. I dressed in my typical loungewear of sweats and t-shirt and headed downstairs to get a bite to eat. I stopped by my laptop to send Angela a quick message to thank her for the soap and shampoo when I remembered the hand lotion. I went back up and got it off the counter. The small bottle had a light pink lotion in it, and I tried a small bit on my fingertip. I seemed to expand as I worked it back and forth in my fingers, and now I knew why a small bottle would last for so long. It had a subtle fragrance that was familiar, but I could not place. I rubbed it over both of my hands and, just for curiosity, over my cuticle and nails as well. The dry, cracked skin soaked in the lotion, and my aching hands felt much better. They were not instantly healed, but the blisters and roughness was definitely smoother. The lotion did tingle like the other products. It even felt like the skin under the nail was tingling. The lotion had soaked in very well, and I took the bottle with me to use again soon. I went back down to the kitchen and started typing a quick note to Angela. Angela, thank you for the products. The bath soap has really helped my dry skin, and the shampoo is a miracle. They did make my skin slightly red and tingle as you mentioned, and the only surprise was that my facial hair seemed to have been pushed out. Don't get me wrong, I would love to not have to deal with 5 o'clock shadows and rashes under my neck. I just wondered if this was normal. The hand lotion has also been a blessing and tingly as well. Are there any issues with using it frequently? My hands are still rough, and I am excited about the thoughts of them being smooth again. See you soon. I sent the email off and fixed a bite to eat when I heard an email come through. It was from Angela. I am so glad you like the products. I have a few others you can test if you don't mind being my test subject. My company experiments with many product lines, and beauty products are just one of them. The facial hair being pushed out is due to the combination of bath soap and shampoo. There is nothing to worry about except that you will not need to shave once all of the hairs are processed. The products together target specific follicles and correct the flaws they discover. I can explain the details later if you like. There is also no concern with using the hand lotion as often as you like. Each use will continue to repair and correct the flaws it discovers. It is safe to use anywhere on your body that you like. Just let me know if anything surprising happens. Angela, I was happy to see that things were working as they should be, but I was curious about the terms processed and correct. She made it sound like the products had some intelligence to them. Just then I felt my skin tingle as it did in the shower. Nothing major, but almost like a recognition of existence. I took out the bottle of hand lotion and again used just a small amount to rub over my hands. Again it expanded and soaked in well as tingled throughout and under the cuticles and nails. Then I thought about her note that it could be used anywhere, and I had the wild idea of using it on my genital area. I took a small amount on my finger and massaged it onto my groin. I could feel it absorb into my skin quickly, and the tingling sensation was much stronger but not unpleasant. The lotion continued to expand as I continued to massage it into my skin, and I noticed that my pubic hair, like my facial hair, was being pushed out. I was surprised but not panicked at this. Since I was in the kitchen, I made my way to the bathroom upstairs. I was still massaging the expanding lotion into my crotch and must have looked foolish. But the tingling sensation was wonderful, even if it meant that my pubic hair was being removed. With my free hand I was able to remove my sweatpants and underwear. I sat on the toilet to start to clean things up when I noticed that most of the hairs had been pushed out like my facial hair. Once I was done cleaning up and removing a few of the stray hairs, the lotion stopped expanding. I could tell that my skin was definitely softer and still tingled. The smooth feel of my hairless crotch was very pleasant. I could definitely get used to this feeling. I washed up and felt very tired, so I headed to bed. It was a very interesting day, to say the least. I had a few vivid dreams that evening, and I was constantly aware of my skin tingling. I wasn't an unpleasant itch I normally got from dry skin, but a subtle pleasant feeling. In one of the dreams, Angela and I were walking hand in hand through the new garden. The morning sun cast a lovely glow over the garden. It had filled out nicely, and the colors and fragrances were bold and vivid. Angela looked lovely as always. Her long brown hair flowed loosely down her back, and she was wearing a lovely white lace dress. I remember looking at her and wishing I could be just as beautiful and carefree as her. I wished that my blonde hair could be as long and full as hers. I wished I could feel the same carefree, loose feeling of a beautiful dress around me. With each feminine thought, I could feel my skin tingle in response. There was no pain or discomfort, just a pleasant feeling that I liked. The next morning I awoke more refreshed than usual. I went into the bathroom to relieve myself and stopped to look in the mirror. The redness of my skin had gone away, and I was really happy to see that the beard growth I have had to deal with all of my life was gone. The skin on my face was smooth and tight. Even the tiny scars from blemishes and childhood fights were diminished. My hair was a bit surprising though. It was definitely fuller and had more body. The gray hairs seemed to be back to their natural color, and overall it was just a bit lighter. Overall, I had the look I did about 20 years ago. Youthful and toned. It was a stark contrast to the rest of my middle-aged body. My skin was smoother, and age spots and rough patches were greatly diminished. But no amount of lotion or soap could bring back the body I had 20 years ago. I went down to the kitchen to start the coffee pot and fix breakfast. Thinking of my overall shape and not really being that hungry, I decided on a light meal of toast and fruit. While waiting on the coffee, I opened my laptop and checked my email. There was nothing from Angela. There was an email update from Secrets in Lace for their new stockings and garters. I always loved to see their new products and dreamed of how they would feel. But I always refrained from purchasing anything major. It would seem to be a waste to put such beautiful garments in a dull and boring body. The other email was from a plant and garden supply house. They were advertising their latest products for spring. I knew most of the flowers and plants I wanted, so I looked past those to the accents section. My eyes scanned and stopped on one item that looked familiar somehow. It was a statue of an angel praying. I could swear I had seen it before. Then I remembered my dream last night. As Angela and I were walking through the garden, it was there. I just knew it would be the perfect addition to our garden. I printed out the link with the price information. I did not want to order it by mail since the shipping cost would be as much as the statue. The coffee was ready, and as I enjoyed the deep, rich flavor of my morning fix, I drafted an email to Angela. Angela, thank you again for helping in the garden. I really enjoyed working with you to bring beauty into the world. I am really excited to see the final results. Here is a link to an accent piece I think would work great. For some reason I thought of you when I saw it. Let me know what you think. I will check a few supply centers this week to see if they carry anything like this. Also, thank you again for the beauty products. The soap has done wonders to heal my rough skin, and even though I am surprised, I like the results the shampoo has had. I did have a few very vivid dreams, but all in all I am very pleased with everything. I sent off the email and closed the laptop to begin my day. My weekends are usually my time to catch up on house and yard work. Sundays are my grocery shopping day and shopping for one is easy. I dressed and headed out. As I was driving to the store, I noticed how my clothes were rough on my skin. I was wearing jeans and a button-up shirt. I have always been aware that men's clothes were built more rugged, but I really seemed to be aware of how rough they felt. My mood turned a bit sour as I once again wished to be able to wear the softer feminine fabrics I have always wanted to wear since I was a child. I always envied my mom, aunts, and female cousins. They were all close and would talk and laugh and just enjoy each other's company. Plus, they got to wear the nicest of clothes, while I would get the husky outfits that young boys wore. I parked at the back of the lot to avoid door dings and get a bit of exercise walking to the store. The fresh spring day did a lot to lift my spirits. I was almost humming by the time I entered the store. I got a cart and started in the produce section. I am not usually a fruit and salad guy, but for some reason being with Angela yesterday had me wanting to take better care of myself. I did not have any real hopes of being her boyfriend, but it inspired me to at least better myself a little. I went through the store in a blur. I know what I like and what I need for the week, and I had done this so often it was like I was on autopilot. By the time I got to the checkout section, my cart was full, and as I looked it over I saw a few things that I normally would not have bought. The garden magazine was expected, but the beauty and fashion magazine wasn't. I also noticed a lot less frozen foods and more fresher ones. Now I am not a great cook by any means, and I wondered what I may have been thinking. But hey, I can always learn, right? As I put the items on the belt, I also noticed a few personal care items that I normally do not use. There were teeth whitening strips, a new hairbrush, a universal manicure set that wasn't too feminine, and a loofah. I was not upset at the items I mindlessly picked up, but I wondered where the ideas came from. I exited the store and wheeled the cart to the back of the lot. I noticed a lot of the cars had flyers on their windshields, and sure enough, so did mine. It was for a new salon down the block. They were offering 2-for-1 massages and manicures. I have to admit that I got a bit excited thinking about that, but I knew I would never get up the nerve to go. I put the flyer in one of my bags and headed home. I saw Angela's car in her driveway and thought back to my dream the night before. It did a lot to lift my spirits as I carried my groceries inside. As I carried the last of the bags and she opened her door to say hello. I set the last bag inside and stepped back out to talk with her. She had a beautiful smile on her face and I had to laugh inside. "What?" I asked. "Oh, nothing, I love what the shampoo did to your hair." "Well, it did bring back a lot of the body and fullness, and I like that the grays are gone," I replied. "It looks a bit lighter." "Was your hair blonde when you were younger?" she asked. "Very blonde. Some folks thought my mom bleached it when I was younger." "It isn't going to be that light, is it?" She thought for a moment. "I don't think so, but if you needed to color it later, it is easier to go darker than lighter." I saw she was holding the same flyer I had from the store and asked, "Did you see that a new salon had opened down the road?" I got the same flyer. As I reached inside to show her the one I got, we shared a laugh which really made me feel at ease. I normally do not go to salons, but I did wonder what the experience would be like. I mentioned, "Well, I love to go, and with a 2-for-1 deal like this I just cannot pass it up. But it is so much more fun to go with someone else. My girlfriends are out of town on business and I was wondering if you would like to go with me." "I am not sure, Angela. On one hand, the thoughts of spending more time with you would be heavenly." I looked down slightly embarrassed, but I would feel so out of place in a salon. "Tell you what, we can go as boyfriend and girlfriend and pretend I dragged you along. That way it would all fall on me to guide you through the process." She had a way of putting me at ease, and the slight pleasant tingle of my skin helped me feel more comfortable about saying yes. "Fabulous. We have an appointment in an hour." I squinted my eyes at her and pretended to be angry. "You had this planned all along, didn't you?" She laughed again. No, but I was hoping you would go along with it. All right then, let me get a shower and meet you in a bit. She winked at me and turned to leave. To me she seemed more animated and excited than I had seen her. I watched her go inside and just shook my head. I will never understand women, I thought. I put the groceries away and went upstairs to take a shower. The bath soap tingled my skin as before and the loofah felt wonderful on my skin. The shampoo also tingled my scalp as before, and I remembered what Angela had said about the two products working together to remove hair. I took a small amount and spread it on my shoulders, chest and belly. The tingling sensation was a little more intense but not unpleasant. I always disliked the hair on my body as I grew older. A few hairs were pushed out like the hair on my face, but not the entire area I expected. I shut off the shower and used the towel to dry off. That was when I noticed the hair really being pushed out. When I say pushed out, I mean root and all. It was like my skin was rejecting the hair and follicle. The pores then would close up to leave my skin smooth and soft. This worried me a bit as I was going to be getting a massage. But I was going to be with Angela, and that was worth any trepidation I may be feeling. When the fog cleared from the mirror, I was surprised to see my hair was again fuller and a bit more lighter. Sort of like the end of summer lightness that I usually get. But in 2 days it lightened enough to be noticeable. I saw the hand lotion on the counter and used a small bit on my hands and nails. It tingled again as well, and since I had some left over I wiped it on my chest. It is hard to describe the sensation, but I swear I could feel it in my toes. The tingling slowed down on my hands and moved straight to my chest. My small man nipples hardened as well as other parts of my body. I reached down to my groin, extend to sensation, and the tingle in my pubic area increased as well. I fought to calm myself down or I would be late to meet Angela. I dressed in my better clothes for the day out and felt better than I did in jeans and casual shirt. It still wasn't satin and silk that I would have preferred, but was presentable enough. Then I realized that yesterday and today I did not have to do anything with my hair other than towel dry it. Usually I would have to comb down a cowlick or work with my part. But yesterday and today it just seemed to fall into place. I will have to remember to tell Angela about that and thank her again. I headed downstairs and met Angela outside. She had changed into a lovely spring dress with a flower print to it. She had on white heels that really emphasized her legs. You look amazing. I managed I should go change. Nonsense, beside we would be late. Your hair looks fantastic. Thank you again for the shampoo. It isn't too light, is it? And I didn't even have to comb it. I just dried it and it looked great. You're welcome. That is one of the benefits of research and development. And no, it isn't too light. I think you look beautiful. I blushed. She said beautiful and not handsome. For some reason that did not bother me. My car or yours? I asked to change the subject. I will drive since I am the one leading you on this adventure. I followed her to her car and watched how graceful she walked and the way her dress flowed on her body. I felt a twinge of envy until I felt my skin tingle. It was like every time I had a sad desire to be more like her, my skin would respond. It was like it was searching or waiting for something. If skin actually had a thought. I brushed it aside and climbed in. It was nice to just be near her. I was lost in thought when I caught a whiff of a familiar scent. I realized it was the same smell of the lotion Angela had given me. I like the perfume you are wearing. I told her. It smells slightly flowery without being too strong. Thank you. It is my company's signature scent. It is the same as the lotion I gave you. It actually is different for each person depending on their mood or personality. I wondered about this. How could a scent vary based on a person's mood or personality? Well, it works on the cellular level. I can explain it to you sometime, but think of it as working in conjunction with your own natural scent. I see. How does it smell on me? I can barely tell it is there. She looked over at me and wet her lips and bit them slightly. I had to laugh out loud. Okay, just drive or you will crash. She laughed that beautiful laugh of hers, and I was lost again in the view outside as I caught a whiff of rose petals filling the car. I wanted to ask where this was all headed, but I did not want to ruin the mood. We arrived shortly at a small building outside of an office park. From the outside it did not look like a salon, but I am no expert. Before we got out, Angela took my hands, looked at me and said, "Thanks you so much for doing this. I am glad we are becoming friends rather than just neighbors. If you are brave enough, I will introduce you to experiences you only have dreamed about. Remember that anything done here today can stay between us and can be undone if needed. Are you still okay with going in?" I thought for a moment. I too am glad to get to know you better, and if it means experiencing new adventures, I am all for it. I could use a few changes in my life. Fantastic. Follow my lead and just enjoy. We exited the car and walked into the front desk. Good afternoon, ma'am. How can I help you? Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Angela shake her head slightly. She smiled at the receptionist and said, "We have a 2 o'clock appointment for your 2-for-1 special." Oh yes, and I see you added the pedicure as well. You will love the full treatment we offer here. I looked at Angela with a wary eye and smiled. She just laughed as the receptionist led us to the rear of the salon. Since the salon had just opened, there were not a lot of customers there. We were shown to the back changing area and given white satin robes to put on. Each person had their own area to change, but Angela turned and asked me to unbutton her dress, which I was more than happy to assist with. She let it slide down with her back to me. For a brief moment I caught a glimpse of the panties she had on. They were pale pink satin with lace trim. I also noticed she was not wearing a bra. With the graceful moves of a magician, she had her robe on in a flash and turned to me with her hands on her hips, tapping her foot. Enough show for now. Come on and get undressed so we can introduce you to the wonders of womanhood. I blushed and looked around for my modesty. Not seeing it in the room, I kicked off my loafers and removed my shirt. While it was over my head, I felt Angela move closer and place her hand on my hairless chest. I am so glad you decided to use the hand lotion on your chest and stomach. We will have to work on your back though to complete the look. I could not reply. The light touch of her hand on my skin felt like magic to me. I mentally kicked myself for forgetting my back though. She raked her lovely hand down my chest and I was brought back to reality. I did manage some modesty to remove my pants and put the robe on. The feeling of the satin on my skin felt heavenly. Angela approached me again and put her hands on my chest. My eyes closed and she said, "Feels lovely, doesn't it?" "Oh yes," was all I could breathlessly reply. Again I could smell rose petals in the room, only much stronger than before. She gave me a light kiss on my lips and took my hand and led me to the massage room. There were 2 tables there with candles and soft music playing. The 2 female masseuses led us to the tables and asked if we had massages before. Angela spoke for both of us. "I have, but this is his first time. Not to worry, we will take very good care of you. It will be perfectly natural if you get excited today. We have seen it all before. We even have some men come in wearing the prettiest panties that would make any woman envious." Angela saved me again. Well, nothing like that today. Then she looked at me and said, next time maybe? I blushed 16 shades of red and just kept my mouth shut. One woman led me to the table and helped me off with the robe. I was sad to have it removed but so caught up in the new experiences to care. I laid face down on the table and looked over at Angela lying on her table. She had a beautiful smile on her face as she looked over at me. I just closed my eyes to enjoy the experience. My first massage was like sensory overload. True enough, I did get excited, but the masseuse was very professional. I noticed that the lotions and oils gave my skin the same tingly feeling as the products Angela had given me. I made a mental note to mention that to her later. The masseuse helped me put my robe back on. My robe, I thought. I was going to have to work up the courage to buy one for myself. I hope you enjoyed your first massage and I do hope you come back soon. Maybe next time we will get to see you in a pair of pretty panties. Her soft tone and gentle smile was reassuring enough to let me know she was serious. She gave me a soft pat on my rear and Angela grabbed my hand and led me to get our manicures. How do you know your way around here? It is like a maze in this place. She just laughed and said most salons are laid out the same. How did you enjoy the massage? Oh God, it was heavenly. I could definitely get used to that. We were greeted at the nail station at the salon by several women who led us to what looked like lounge chairs. As we sat, they adjusted the chair settings and a gentle vibrating massage started. I was startled at first but soon settled in and slowly drifted off. I heard Angela telling the women what she wanted done today and I just relaxed and felt the nail technician massaging my hand with a tingling lotion as she went to work. Once again, Angela and I were walking hand in hand through our garden. She looked radiant in a soft flowing white satin dress. She had that same beautiful smile as always. We had stopped to admire the angle statue. I reached up to tuck my blonde hair behind my ears and felt my earrings dangle on my neck. I looked down and could see my breasts through my white chiffon blouse. My modest skirt complemented the outfit and came just about my knee. I let my hand glide down over my breast and over the curves of my hips. I looked up at Angela and said, "I love you so much, thank you." Then it hit me, I awoke with a start and felt a bit panicked. Angela was there beside me holding my hand. I relaxed a bit and smiled. Wow, I must have dozed off. I was so relaxed. I know. You seemed so peaceful, I hated to have to wake you. You slept through the whole process. I pouted slightly and she laughed. So what do you think of the results? I looked at my hands and was surprised to see my nails extended and looking so feminine. They were a very pale pink. I looked at my toes and they were the same pink as my hands. I remembered what she said to relax and enjoy the experience and that anything could be undone. It looked up at her and saw she was anxiously waiting for my reaction. I reached up and lightly touched her cheek and let my now feminine hand slide behind her neck and pull her to me. I kissed her firmly on the lips and our tongues met for just a moment. I love it! Thank you so much. The look on her face was priceless. Her face glowed so proudly and she once again had the beautiful smile. Now it was her turn to grab my neck and pull me to her. Our kiss lasted longer this time and the scent of roses filled the air. My head was swimming and I needed to breathe. So we parted lips, but she gave me one more quick kiss before leading me back to the changing area. We removed our robes and I glanced over to see her perfect body. I noticed she was slower in getting dressed and allowed me to watch as she was watching me. She gracefully slid her dress up over her hips, covering the lovely panties. She turned her back to me and I buttoned her dress. It took a bit to get used to the length of my nails, but I managed. I even raked my nails over her bare skin, which caused her to shudder. I reached out to catch her as it seemed that her knees gave way. "Are you okay?" I asked. I was concerned I may have hurt her with my new nails. "Oh yes, I am more than okay." "That was fantastic." "Thank you." I had a confused look on my face and she laughed. "There are many ways to achieve an orgasm. You just discovered one of my weaknesses." I started to reach up again and she playfully swatted my hand away. "I am not that kind of girl." We both had a good laugh. I could not remember feeling so good in a long time. I dressed quickly and looked for a place to put the robe. "That is yours to keep," she said. "I have so many so you can have mine as well." I took both robes and gently folded them over my arm. The familiar tingle occurred on my skin. It was like true acceptance of the material of garment. I could not be sure. We headed out through the salon and I was surprised to see it was so late. They were about to close and the women thanked us for stopping by. No one gave a moment's notice to my nails or the fact I was carrying 2 white satin robes over my arm. We thanked them and got into Angela's car. That was one of the best experiences I have had. "Thank you," I said. "You are most welcome. It doesn't have to end there." I was starting to think she was going to invite me to her place tonight. There are so many feminine experiences I could share with you. If you like. Her face was content and she was so happy. "Angela, today was a fantastic experience, but I am a realist. Sure, I have enjoyed wishing my whole life that I could experience the softer side of life. But sadly it will never be. I am a middle-aged man with no hope of presenting a feminine appearance. It makes me sad to think I am missing out on so much while trying to fit into society. Genetics will not allow it." She was quiet for a moment. What if genetics can be corrected? What if there was a way to achieve all that you desire with the help of science? I seriously doubt science has come so far as to reverse genetics. I am sure we would have heard of it by now. She brightened a bit. "So if there was a way, would you be interested?" I thought for the briefest of moments. Sure, of course. But what would it mean for our relationship? I feel we are getting closer and I would not want to lose that. She just laughed. "Silly girl. I am a lesbian. Have you ever seen a man at my place?" Now I was floored. "Wait, what? Did you just call me a silly girl?" I reached over to tickle her and rake my nails on her shoulder. We were both having giggle fits and I eased up since she almost wrecked. We got back home safe and as we walked to our doors I was hoping that she would invite me over. I have to pack for a trip this week. I will be out of town, but I am really looking forward to spending next weekend with you. I have many more surprises in store if you are still open to the changes. You do not have to answer now. Just think about it. I promised I would and she gave me another passionate kiss as we went inside to own homes. I closed the door and looked at my hands. I kicked off my loafers and looked at my toes. Could I really change as much as she said? Could genetics be revised to allow me to pass as a woman? Would I want to change my life that much? Take such a large leap of faith with someone I just got to know personally. If it meant being with Angela, then absolutely 100% yes. I even whispered it out loud. "Yes, Angela. I would change everything to be with you." I felt that familiar tingling feeling from my scalp to my new pink toenails. The scent of rose petals filled the room. In the connected home next door, Angela busied herself with packing for her trip. Her own body tingled with the same feeling. The scent of rose petal filled the room and she smiled. "He is the one. Thank you." Somewhere far above an angel smiled and said, "You are welcome, my child."